This is one of those true stories that sounds hard to believe at first, but every part of it is tied to real events and real investigations. The story begins with a woman named Candy. At the time, she is 23 years old and living in a small town called Kipling in Canada. Life in a town like this is very tight-knit. Most people know each other, and news travels fast even when it starts as a small comment. Candy is known around town because she likes going out, meeting people, and enjoying parties. In a place like Kipling, where not much changes day to day, that kind of lifestyle makes her fairly noticeable to others. People form opinions quickly in small communities, and those opinions tend to stick. One night in 1992, Candy has a serious argument with her boyfriend. The situation upsets her a lot, and she is left feeling stressed and emotional. Instead of staying where she is, she decides to go to the local hospital. Her intention is not to get treated for anything physical, but to see a friend who works there and talk through what just happened. It is the kind of decision someone makes when they are overwhelmed and looking for a familiar place to calm down. When she arrives at the hospital, things do not go the way she expected. Her friend is not on shift that night, so she is left there without the person she was hoping to see. Instead, she ends up interacting with one of the doctors on duty. This doctor is Dr. Schneeberger. In the town, he is well known and highly respected. He has delivered many babies in Kipling, including Candy's own child, so she already recognizes him and, like most people in the town, trusts him. She explains to him that she just had a bad argument and is feeling shaken. The situation is emotional and she is not there for any medical emergency. According to what is recorded, Schneeberger responds by saying he can give her something to help her relax. He takes her into an exam room and gives her an injection of a sedative called Versed. This is a strong drug that is used in medical settings to calm patients, but it can also cause memory loss and heavy drowsiness. Very quickly, Candy begins to feel the effects. Her body becomes weak and she starts to lose normal control of her movements. She feels numb and disconnected. She cannot think clearly, cannot move properly, and her awareness keeps fading in and out. This kind of drug works by slowing down brain activity, so a person can become confused, disoriented, and unable to form proper memories of what is happening around them. In Candy's case, she later describes having a disturbing sense that something was wrong during that time, even though she could not fully process it. By the next morning, she wakes up inside the hospital. She is confused and does not understand what happened after the injection. There are gaps in her memory, which is consistent with the effects of the sedative she was given. She later goes to confront Dr. Schneeberger and asks him what exactly she was given. His response is unusual to her. He asks if she had strange dreams because of the drug. This question makes her uncomfortable, and it adds to her confusion about what happened while she was unconscious or semi-conscious. At this point, Candy begins to suspect that something serious may have happened while she was under the influence of the drug. She starts thinking that she may have been assaulted during the time she could not properly remember. This suspicion is not based on full memory, but on the combination of confusion, physical state, and the strange nature of the situation. Feeling unsettled and unsure of what to do next, she drives to a nearby town and goes to an RCMP police office to report what she believes may have happened. After making the report, she also goes through a medical examination. As part of the investigation process, her underwear is taken for forensic testing. This is standard procedure in cases like this because biological evidence can sometimes remain and be used to identify DNA. When the lab results come back, they find the presence of a man's DNA on the evidence. This is an important development because DNA evidence can connect individuals to physical contact. At this point, Candy begins telling people that she believes Dr. Schneeberger drugged and assaulted her. However, she runs into a major problem immediately. In a small town like Kipling, Dr. Schneeberger is not just any doctor. He is extremely respected, trusted, and known by many families. On the other hand, Candy works at a gas station and already has a public reputation connected to partying and social life. Because of this difference in reputation, many people in the community are skeptical of her claim. Even so, Dr. Schneeberger agrees to take a DNA test voluntarily to defend his name. Police are present during the process to ensure everything is done correctly. His blood is drawn directly from his arm and the sample is sent to a forensic lab. The lab compares his DNA with the DNA found on Candy's underwear. When the results come back, they show that there is no match. This result is a turning point. It strongly suggests that Dr. Schneeberger is not the source of the DNA found in the evidence. For Candy, however, this is extremely confusing. She is now facing a situation where her personal experience and suspicion do not match the scientific result. She begins to question how this could be possible. She considers whether something went wrong with the testing process or whether the sample might have been compromised. About a year passes and it is now 1993. Candy continues to maintain her claim. She still believes strongly that what happened to her was real, and she continues to push for another DNA test. She does not accept the earlier result as final. Because of the pressure and ongoing allegations, Dr. Schneeberger agrees again to take another test, still wanting to clear his name completely. This second test is also supervised closely by police. His blood is drawn again in a controlled setting, directly in front of officers. The sample is handled carefully and sent to the lab for comparison. Once again, the results come back the same. There is still no match between his DNA and the DNA found on the evidence. By this point, the situation in the town begins to shift heavily against Candy. Many people now see her as someone who made a false accusation against a respected doctor. In small communities, reputation plays a huge role, and once public opinion forms, it can become very difficult to change. Candy starts experiencing social pressure and judgment in everyday life. People whisper about her, avoid her, and openly express disbelief. Even routine places like shops and public spaces become uncomfortable because she feels watched and judged. Another year passes, and it is now 1994. The police effectively close the case because there are no new leads that point to Dr. Schneeberger. With the DNA tests showing no match, there is no clear evidence supporting the accusation in their view. During this time, Candy's life in the town becomes increasingly difficult. The social pressure continues, and her reputation is heavily affected. Even interactions in public can feel hostile or uncomfortable. Dr. Schneeberger's wife, Lisa, is also part of the same community. She is strongly upset about the accusations against her husband. She believes her husband is being wrongly targeted, and she expresses anger toward Candy. In the town environment, this adds another layer of tension, and Candy becomes even more isolated socially. Over time, she reaches a point where she feels she cannot continue living there. She makes the difficult decision to leave Kipling and move to another city. Even after leaving, she still believes her experience was real and does not let go of her concerns. In an attempt to find answers, she hires a private investigator. This is a turning point because the case is no longer being actively pursued by police. The investigator tries to look deeper into what might have happened. At one point, the investigator illegally enters Schneeberger's car without a warrant and finds an old used chapstick under a seat. Candy sends this item to a private lab for DNA testing. The lab finds that Dr. Schneeberger's DNA is present, and it also matches the DNA previously found on Candy's underwear. However, even though this result supports Candy's belief, there is a major legal problem. Because the chapstick was obtained illegally, the evidence cannot be used in court. So even though it raises serious questions, it does not reopen the case officially or change the legal outcome at that time. Years pass again, and the case remains unresolved publicly. Then in 1997, a major development happens inside Schneeberger's own family. His wife, Lisa, is at home with their teenage daughter, who is his stepdaughter. The daughter becomes upset and eventually tells Lisa that Dr. Schneeberger has been assaulting her. She describes incidents involving him coming into her room at night, giving her drugs, and harming her. After hearing this, Lisa searches through Schneeberger's home office. She finds a box that contains condoms and sedatives, including Versed, the same drug that was used on Candy in the hospital. This discovery is serious enough that Lisa goes directly to the police and reports everything. At this point, authorities begin a new investigation. Dr. Schneeberger is required to take another DNA test, but this time it is no longer voluntary. Investigators now believe there may have been manipulation of earlier tests. Instead of taking blood from his arm, they take a sample from his finger. This time, the DNA result matches the evidence from the stepdaughter's case. It also matches the DNA that had been found years earlier on Candy's underwear. This raises a major question that had not been understood before. How could earlier tests show no match while this one clearly does? The answer reveals a highly unusual method. Investigators discover that Dr. Schneeberger, being a doctor, had access to medical supplies and patient blood. He took blood from another male patient and placed it inside a small plastic tube. He then surgically inserted that tube into his own arm. When DNA tests were done, he guided the sampling process so that the needle would draw blood from that inserted tube instead of his real bloodstream. This meant the tests were unknowingly analyzing someone else's DNA, which explained why earlier results showed no match. Once this method is understood, the full picture becomes clear. Dr. Schneeberger had been able to manipulate earlier DNA tests, which misled investigators for years. With this discovery, he is arrested. He later goes to trial, is found guilty, and is sentenced to 6 years in prison. He is also stripped of his medical license.